"Hey Anubhav, do me a favor, mate. Do you mind working on this?" And you're like, "Sure, Catherine. When do you need it by?" And then Catherine tells you, "No rush, but you can have it to me by 8 a.m. the following morning." And then you're absolutely boiling with anger because you probably had plans to go out on a Tinder date that night, but then you put on a facade and tell Catherine, "Sure, Catherine, 8 a.m. tomorrow sounds good." And off walks Catherine, and you're left there ruining your luck and preparing yourself for a 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. kind of night, only so that you can actually get this deliverable out by 8 a.m. the following morning. What's up, my friends? It's your boy Anubhav here. If you're new to my channel, then I ought to tell you that I'm a Georgia Tech industrial engineer turned Goldman Sachs New York investment banker turned ICC Cricket World Cup 2019 presenter. And in this channel, I talk about the experiences that I've had through this very roller coaster of a journey of mine. So if you want to be a part of this roller coaster, then please do consider subscribing to the channel. You can also follow me on LinkedIn and Instagram, two platforms on which I've been fairly active in the recent past. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a topic that's been requested by so many of you: a day in the life of an investment banking analyst or a Goldman Sachs investment banking analyst. At the very outset of this video, let me mention a couple of very important points to you. Point number one, in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you what the day in the life of an analyst looks like. Not an associate, not a VP, not an MD, not a partner. What analysts do is actually very different from what senior bankers do. Point number two, describing a day in the life of an investment banking analyst is like describing the color of a chameleon. And as cliched as it sounds, no 2 days are the same. Some days it's Excel, cocaine, Excel, cocaine. Other days it's PowerPoint, cocaine, PowerPoint, cocaine. I'm just kidding about the cocaine bit, but the point is that what you do on a daily basis really varies depending upon what the need of the hour is. And so for the purposes of this video, I've first described how an analyst day is usually structured in terms of the tasks and the responsibilities that keep the analyst busy. But then I also go on to describe the different variations to this structure by talking about 4 different types of days that, according to me, can be broadly used to describe life as an investment banking analyst. In the third and final section of this video, I talk about what Saturdays and Sundays as an investment banking analyst look like, while also talking about a very interesting weekend work policy that banks such as Goldman Sachs as well as other bulge bracket investment banks recently introduced. So it goes without saying, please do watch this video until the very end. As an investment banking analyst, you typically get into the office around 10 o'clock in the morning. In the morning, work is a lot more orderly and methodical compared to work in the evening when things can really get out of control and you're all over the place. The first thing that you typically do in the morning is make sure that you check your emails and you're caught up with all your emails. If senior bankers have sent across any comments on the work that was submitted to them the previous day for review, then you have to work with your associate to make sure that all the edits are done correctly and on time. So the way the process works is that as soon as the comments come in, you and the associate on the deal team sit down together just so that you guys can make sure that you guys are on the same page with respect to what changes need to be made. And this is your opportunity to ask the associate any questions that you may have or any doubts that you may have pertaining to the changes that have been requested by the senior bankers. After you've had your sit down session with the associate, you go ahead and make the changes. So these could be changes in a pitch book that you're trying to build in PowerPoint, or these could be changes in a financial model that you're building in Excel, or both. Once you're done making the changes, you resubmit the work to the associate. The associate takes a very close look, and if everything seems fine to the associate, he or she ships the work back to the VP or to the MD. And if there's something in the work that you've submitted to the associate that doesn't quite seem right, then the associate is going to ask you to make all the appropriate changes, after which the associate will send it to the VP or to the MD. And very often, this entire cycle of receiving comments from the senior banker, making the appropriate changes, and then resubmitting the work to the senior banker repeats 3 or 4 times, sometimes even more. And so it ends up taking your entire day and sometimes your entire day and night. As a first-year analyst, you generally don't get to attend too many client meetings, but sometimes you get lucky as well. Honestly, it really depends upon the VP or the MD on your deal team. There's some VPs and MDs who are very open to junior members getting FaceTime with the clients, but there are others who don't quite feel very comfortable allowing the junior members to meet clients in person, especially when the junior banker still hasn't gained the trust of the senior banker. But if you do end up getting lucky, or if you've done some really stellar work on the deal so far, you sometimes do get to tag along with the senior bankers to client meetings, either in the same city or sometimes even in another city. But even if you don't get to attend client meetings in person, you do get invited to be a part of calls with the client. And even though you might be on mute from start to finish, it's still very fascinating to listen into what the dialogue is like between the senior bankers at the bank and the CXOs at the client. That honestly was my favorite part of the analyst role. However, I will say that as much as you may want to listen in on the conversation with rapt attention, sometimes you just have way too much work on your plate. And so the wiser thing for you to do would be to actually continue chipping away at your financial model or your PowerPoint deck with your headset on, trying to somewhat pay attention to what's being discussed on the call. In the evening, sometime between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. is when the VPs, MDs, and other senior bankers are heading home, and sometimes on the way out, they stop by your desk to explain certain deliverables that they'd like you to work on and complete by the following morning, and that keeps you at the office until midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., sometimes even beyond that. During my time at Goldman in New York City, the dinner policy was that if you stayed at the office past 8 p.m., you'd get $25 to spend on food or dinner, and after that first $25 allowance, you'd get a $25 allowance every 4 hours. So you'd get your next $25 allowance at midnight, then at 4 a.m., and so on. So you can imagine how easy it must have been for an analyst to put on weight, not only because that analyst is getting all this money to spend on food, but you typically don't end up making the healthiest of food choices at midnight or at 4 a.m. Before heading out of the office, you would typically delegate a ton of work to banking support groups, and these support groups would have everything that you asked for ready for you before you came into the office the following morning. At Goldman, they were called DRG, or the Data Resources Group, and WP, whose full form I still don't know. Basically anything data related that you wanted to include in your PowerPoint. So numbers, graphs, pie charts could be delegated to DRG, and they would do it for you. And anything to do with the aesthetics of your PowerPoint deck, making it look pretty and beautiful and visually appealing, could be delegated to WP. Trust me, these guys were absolute lifesavers, and as analysts, we relied heavily on them. Had it not been for these guys, then whatever little amount of sleep that I was getting would not have been possible either. Many of the largest investment banks have company car services set up to take the employees back home if those employees have stayed at the office until a certain hour. During my time at Goldman in New York, if you stayed at the office past 10 p.m., then you could use the company car service to get a ride back home, get a few hours of sleep, and then do it all over again the following day. So that concludes the first of the 3 sections to this video. Before I move on to the next section, let me just quickly reiterate that while the activities of the day that I just described may be similar going from one day to another, the time of the day when you carry out these activities may differ depending upon the circumstances that you find yourself in. Clear? Great. Now, in the next section, I'm going to explain to you what, according to me, are the 4 different types of days that life as an investment banking analyst can be broadly classified into. The first type is the chill type, which, as the name suggests, are days when you get absolutely no work, zero. This type of day is honestly like the calm before the storm. It's when the waters are still, but you can sense that there's a tsunami headed in your direction. So enjoy these days while they last, because honestly, these days do not come by too often, and please do not be an idiot like this guy was and end up making the same mistakes that this guy made during his initial few days in investment banking. And so my suggestion to you would be that when these days do come by, do one or a combination of the following things. Suggestion number 1, just take it easy on the desk. Just take a chill pill, sit back and relax, surf the web, catch up on your favorite news, catch up on your favorite sports, go home early and just catch up on some sleep. Suggestion number 2, use this time to schedule coffee chats with mentors and colleagues of yours at the bank just to catch up with them. Suggestion number 3, spend time at the gym. In investment banking, you're always playing catch up with your health, and so use this time wisely to undo some of the damage that you've done to yourself and to your body through the stress eating and the lack of sleep and the missing workouts. And my final suggestion to you is that if you're really feeling diligent and ambitious, then spend some time honing your financial modeling skills or studying some aspects of a deal that you worked on more closely. So these were just a few suggestions that I had. Honestly, it's really up to you to decide how you want to be spending your time, but regardless of what you choose to do, please do not make it too evident that you're having fun, because others might be drowning in work. And if you make it way too evident, then others will resent you for having fun while they're getting absolutely screwed. The second type of day is what you think of when you think of life as an investment banker. Simply put, these are the days when you get absolutely buried in work from morning until the wee hours of the following morning, and you typically experience such days under the following circumstances. Circumstance number 1 is when you're working on multiple live deals. That is when 3 or 4 deals that you've been assigned are all active at the same time, and so you end up getting very time-sensitive requests corresponding to each of those 3 or 4 deals throughout the day, often coming in at the same time as well. Circumstance number 2 is when there's a big pitch that's coming up that has a hard deadline. A pitch here being a meeting with a prospective client. Given how hungry or ravenous senior bankers can be, as soon as they feel that there's a chance to win new business, they'll do anything it takes. And so oftentimes they'll want very detailed pitch books to be created for these meetings with prospective clients. And so you, being the analyst or being the junior most on the team, end up having to bear the brunt and oftentimes pull all-nighters just to make sure that these pitch books are actually delivered to the senior banker in a timely manner. And the final circumstance that creates days that are absolutely hell is if any last-minute emergencies come up. For example, if an MD is traveling and all of a sudden needs some information or needs something prepared for a meeting that's coming up later that day or perhaps early the following day, then you have to leave whatever you might be working on just so that you can actually cater to that MD's request. Look, I'm not taking anything away from how hard investment bankers work, but if a banker tells you that every single day is like this type of day that I've just described to you, then he or she is either lying to you or is doing something wrong. While these days are not uncommon, it's a myth that every single day is like this, because if a banker were working 100+ hour weeks every single week, then that banker would die. The third type of day is what I would call a day of two halves. And what I mean by that is that the first half of the day is vastly different compared to what the second half of the day looks like. It's honestly pretty slow for most of the day, but as your VP or your MD is heading home around 8 p.m., he or she will stop by your desk and very coolly and nonchalantly tell you, "Hey Anubhav, do me a favor, mate. Do you mind working on this?" And you're like, "Sure, Catherine, when do you need it by?" And then Catherine tells you, "No rush, but you can have it to me by 8 a.m. the following morning." And then you're absolutely boiling with anger because you probably had plans to go out on a Tinder date that night, but then you put on a facade and tell Catherine, "Sure, Catherine, 8 a.m. tomorrow sounds good." And off walks Catherine, and you're left there ruining your luck and preparing yourself for a 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. kind of night, only so that you can actually get this deliverable out by 8 a.m. the following morning. The fourth type of day was my favorite type of day, which was neither too chill nor too busy. You had some decent amount of work that kept you busy for most of the day, but nothing too crazy. So you still got some time to head downstairs and treat yourself to some coffee in the middle of the day, perhaps hit the gym in the evening, perhaps even grab a beer or two with your fellow analysts around 10 p.m. before heading back home and being tucked in bed by around midnight. These good days take place when you can focus on one or two deals or one or two clients instead of being pulled in a million different directions. And I won't say that these days are rare, but they aren't all that common either. And so just like I'd mentioned to you when I was describing the first type of day, when these days do come by, make sure that you're actually carving time out for extracurriculars as well, as opposed to being like that loser who's always looking to do more work. For the third and final section of this video, let's talk about what weekend work looks like, starting with Friday. Fridays are usually not all that crazy. You typically saw the banking floor clearing out by around 8 p.m. on a Friday. My analyst class had a Friday ritual where we would go to this place called Elvez that was right next door just to get a few drinks to celebrate the end of the week. End of the week, you might be thinking, what the hell does that even mean in investment banking? I thought there's no end to the week in investment banking. Well, fortunately, there is an end to the week due to a policy that Goldman Sachs, as well as some other bulge bracket investment banks, recently introduced. So at Goldman, this was unofficially known as the Saturday rule. And what the rule meant was that unless circumstances were exceptional, you weren't allowed to come into the office between 9 p.m. on a Friday night and 9 a.m. Sunday morning. And if exceptional circumstances did present themselves, then you had to seek permission from the head of the banking group to come in during those restricted hours. So see, life as an investment banker wasn't all that bad, was it? I'm just kidding, it still sucked. You generally did come into the office on a Sunday, not because it was a rule or anything, but by actually getting some work done on a Sunday, the hectic week that was coming up would just become slightly less hectic. That was one detailed video, wasn't it? If you enjoyed it, then please give it a thumbs up and send a compliment my way in the comment section. I always enjoy reading all your compliments, and as much as I enjoy reading your compliments, I enjoy reading all the constructive feedback and the constructive criticism that you have for me. So if there's any way in which you think I can actually improve the quality of my videos, then please let me know in the comment section. Do not forget to follow me on LinkedIn and Instagram. If you've already subscribed to my channel and have been benefiting from my videos, then please do recommend this channel to a friend or a family member, just so that we can continue to grow this community. The bigger the community, the more interaction we have, the more ideas and knowledge get spread, and the more everyone benefits. So it's a win-win for everyone. That's all I had this week, folks. Until next time, take care, stay safe, keep smashing it, and cheers.